Hello everyone, welcome to ETRealty. I am your host Ankit Sharma and today we will be discussing about future of luxury real estate with a focus on sustainability. And to discuss on the same, we have with us Mr. M. Murali, Chairman Shriram Properties, Mallanna Sasalu, CEO Provident Housing. Thank you for joining us. Right, so I will start with Mr. Murali. So for the last 4 years, the affordable housing has been uh, one of the segment that has been in major in demand, and this is what most of the builders and even the government was pushing for. But in the last 1 year, what has changed is that luxury housing has suddenly started picking up, and most of the builders are also looking for the supply, and even it is being consumed very quickly. What has changed, and what are the trends that you are seeing in the luxury real estate? Why is it that suddenly the demand for this has started increasing?
See, nothing happened overnight. This has been happening over a period of last 4 5 years time. RERA is led to the consolidation of the industry, differentiated between boys and men. That has controlled the entire supply side. On the other hand, demand has been growing, particularly COVID-led demand. I would call it as a COVID-led demand. COVID has created a new demand for real estate development, particularly on the luxury side. This has happened sometime in 21. It's not last year. 21 itself, early 21. People started looking at how to save extra money for themselves. And also, of course, it's a wrong doing, but moonlighting. People started looking at, earning themselves very well. And all the companies also started paying well, better than what they were paying in COVID. More importantly, people have gotten to the savings mode. That's the most crucial part. COVID has brought down people to their basics. People are moving all over. See, Indians are too good in savings. And for them, the most important ones are gold and homes. Stock market and all that much later. But they were moving away from saving mentality before COVID. COVID brought them to the basics. They were brought back to the savings mentality. On the other hand, they also started making more money. Post-COVID or during COVID. That has helped in increasing the demand, particularly on luxury side. Not only that, during this COVID, people suffered a lot. They needed some extra space. So they thought this is time for them to go for additional room or additional 2 rooms. So that, in case they need any emergency, they'll always be having the extra room. So because of that, demand has come up. Why affordable has gone down, it's a separate subject. There is a demand for affordable housing. There is continuing demand for affordable housing. I don't expect that to come down for the next 10 years. There is a constant demand at mid-market and mid-premium segment. I don't expect that to come down for next 7 8 years. Luxury, the new demand has come in because of all these factors. This will continue for at least next 3 4 years is my view. Because India economy is doing phenomenally well, and all these guys are likely to continue to make more and more earnings. Hence, the demand is here to stay for longer time, even for luxury.
Do you think that this, because Mr. Moli mentioned that he is expecting the demand to continue for 3 4 years, do you think that similar demand is expected? And second one that I want to add to the original question is, do you think that the rise in the cost of raw materials and rise in the land prices has also led builders to increase their property prices, and then when they decided to increase the property prices, they had to give them a larger space? Is this one of the reasons that luxury supply is also increasing?
Addition to what Murali said, he covered most of the points, right? So what it is that the definition of affordable housing has changed. That is from your third question. The input costs have gone up. The land prices have gone up. What used to be a 30 lakhs rupees to 40 lakhs rupees, which was considered to be affordable housing, now nobody can produce a 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom house to be sold at 30 to 40 lakhs rupees unless that you find a land outside the city where accessibility will be a problem. Right. So now the affordable housing, if today somebody has to say what's the definition of affordable housing, I would say anything in upwards of 50 lakhs rupees going up to 1 to 1.2 crore rupees. If you look at that market continues to be strong. As Murali said, it continues to drive in another 10 years going forward also that market is going to be there. Maybe not be 50 to 1.2 lakhs. Inflation adjusted, it may go from 60 to 1.4 crores. Right, 60 to 1. From 50 to 1.2 crores. So it may go to from 60 to 1.4 crores. Coming back to this luxury housing, as Murali said that yes, people are now looking for a safety place. After COVID, the realization has come in that we need to have our own house, because most of the people, they left homes and they went away and they did not have them, and they came back that they didn't have the similar house. And so the people think that now it's a good thing to invest in housing. India primarily, even after 10-15 years, it is going to be the mentality of the people is going to be to own a house. And that's the reason why you may see that there is a slight increase in the luxury housing, and it will continue. And in the luxury also, there are several layers. There's luxury, there is super luxury, there is ultra luxury. So it depends on which market that we are addressing. I think the markets are doing well in all sectors of residential development.
And do you think that this demand is mostly this demand for luxury segment or even for other segment also? Do you think that this will lead to people? So from builders' perspective, do you think that they are now starting to buy more land parcels? So because if they have to launch more projects within the cities, I have seen most of the builders are now going to different cities, buying more land parcels, and then they are launching the projects. Do you think this will lead to for this also they are going to joint developments? They are also acquiring some land parcel. Do you think this is also something that is coming up?
This has nothing to do with the luxury and all that. There is a general demand which has been going up. See, let us look at India economy. It's the brightest economy in the world, and they are doing phenomenally well. And we should, it's not credit to all the developers. It is a credit to Prime Minister's commitment, hard work, the way he has been driving the entire nation, just not one part of economy, driving the entire nation with a very positivity, the perception what is created. So India is being looked upon by the world today. So that is pushing the big demand on one hand. On the other hand, consolidation has taken place in this industry. That's the most key part. It is not new to any industry. It is new to real estate. But this has happened to NBFCs in early 2000. If you map 2000, NBFC also went through series of challenges. But sometime in 2005-06, it's all stabilized. Today, it's a well-grown industry today. Very qualitative players, high-quality players are there in NBFC. Real estate just started about 6-7 years ago. Now it is maturing today in a big way. That consolidation, if you take India real estate is simple. People think it's complicated. It's very simple. 10 cities matter in India real estate. It is NCR 3, Noida, Gurgaon and Delhi, Bombay, Pune in West, Kolkata in East, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad. These 10 cities cater to close to over 70% of the demand coming up. If you map these 10 cities, not more than 50-60 real estate developers matters. These 50-60 real estate developers in these 10 cities catering to over 70% of the demand in these 10 cities. Again, if you go next level, each city, not more than 10-12 people, catering to about 80% of the demand. So again, we may not be present in across all the 10 cities. Again, he may not be present in across all that. He may be present in 6 cities, we may be present in different 6 cities. But if you look at each city, not more than 10 to 12 developers, catering to about 80% of the demand. So consolidation is playing a big role. On the other hand, demand has been growing. Hence, all the credible large developers like us, branded developers like us, are looking at a much bigger expansion because India is going to grow further, multifold. Hence, it's an opportunity for us to grow very aggressive. You talked about joint development. It is coming out of another extreme opposite view. India, I don't recall which year, Finance Minister talked about the NPAs, which was about 7 lakh crore. That was about 17 or around that period, 18. And on that again, the number of homes, more than million homes, unfinished projects which are there. I think 2017 or 18. So more than million homes are unfinished homes. Basically, the non-performing assets, either from the banks or NBFCs or institutions or the other developers who are struck, those projects are plenty today. All these projects to getting delivered, my estimate is not even 20% of those projects will get delivered. Even these 20 projects getting delivered, it will take another 7 to 8 years. That supply alone is going to be a big supply. Hence, people can comfortably look at. That's where we moved into asset-light model, complete asset-light model. We moved into development management and JDAs. You don't need to put in lots of capital to get into the development, because we have got a good brand, we have got a good sales engine, we have got a good capability to deliver. Hence, you don't need to worry about too much of capital in locking the. You need to worry about locking the capital too much. Whereas you can pick up those trust projects. That is plenty today. Next 5 to 8 years time, plenty of stress projects are available for us to look up.
Okay. So what I want to, one more point to add is, because I talked about land parcels, what I also wanted to ask is, does this during this 1-2 years time, do you think the developers are moving from just beyond from their existing cities? So if there was a builder who was very focused on Bangalore, now they are suddenly looking at Pune, Chennai and other markets to expand. So because they know that there is some kind of opportunity that is available and they can grasp it. Is this also something that is happening, that builders are now moving beyond their origin cities and they are going to expansion modes?
Yeah, let's first start looking at this whole thing about the consolidation, right? Regulations in any industry. Once the regulation come in, consolidation is for sure. Because even to manage the regulatory requirements of, for example, in our industry, the RERA and also the banking system changed. The way we used to, the nationalized banks used to lend, and that's not going to be possible anymore for buying the land parcels and etc. etc. So that consolidation has happened, and now today, as Murali said, that 12, 15, 20 developers in each city that who are doing, and there may be some, maybe maximum around 10 developers who are there in more than 4 or 5 cities, and not more than 10 developers, I think. So this will continue. This will continue means, and these developers are, because we have invested so many years into the business in different geographic locations. Even today, real estate development is a localized business, because we are operating in around 7 cities. In all 7 cities that we have got significant projects. That means, but we are not the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in those cities. But now the opportunity comes forward, because of this consolidation, the smaller developers are vanishing. And if you look at, for example, if you look at Hyderabad, we have done a project with 2,000 units, and now we've got a presence there, and we want to take advantage of that. We are not number 1, number 2 there, but there's an opportunity for us to grow there. In Chennai, we are doing 3-4 projects. Still, we are not number 1 or number 2 there. There is an opportunity for us. In Cochin, that we have done extremely well, and there is an opportunity for us to grow in Cochin. Same in Pune, same in Mumbai. The largest project in Goa, one single project, 2,000 units is ours, right? Now, Goa has picked up so much. There is so much of opportunity there. Since we are present there, there is an opportunity to grow. Of course, Bangalore has been our bread and butter, and we continue to grow. So we have a slightly different take from Murali in terms of the way we have gone about approaching the land. Wherever that there is an opportunity where the landlord is going to make more than 20%, that we now estimate that 20%, 21% return on his current land price. And if the land prices are coming cheaper on a basis of, let's say that if I'm able to raise money at 16, 17% for buying the land, and then we say that, okay, we will go and buy the land itself. Because there are a couple of reasons why we do that. In the long run, that is over the 5, 6, 7 years, and the prices have gone up, and then there is a little bit more juice left at the end of the project, and that is what we are doing. If you look at that, all our projects, some of them are the one project we are doing is 6,000 units in one different location, where the project was probably launched at some 2,000 rupees. Now we have reached around 6,000 rupees. Another project which will be launched at 3,700 rupees per square feet. Today it is selling at 7,200 rupees per square feet. So generally, that where we find that there is a good margin that is available with on the future of the project, then we go and buy the property. Otherwise, we go into the joint development. So we are not fixated on one or the other, because as Murali was saying, that we are around 15 developers who are present, and there are a lot of financial institutions who wants to give you the money. Because at the end of the day, money has to be invested somewhere, right? Money cannot stay in one place, and money cannot be in the treasury management. It has to be invested. So there are quite a number of financial institutions chasing quality developers and quality assets. So that is where we are going.
Okay. So Indian government announced some time back that they by 2070 they want to be carbon neutral. They want the whole industries that are present, they want to be carbon neutral. And construction industry, infrastructure and real estate, they are one of the biggest carbon emitters. So what has happened is, even SEBI has come up with new rules for within BRSR. what changes in the projects that you're launching now in the last 1 year, 2 years, or the going forward, and the projects you had before? Have you seen any kind of change in the way that you are coming up with this project, the way you are tackling this project, the way you are designing these projects? Have you seen any kind of changes that has happened? Is there anything sustainable that is there anything that particular that you're looking for, that this project should be more sustainable for me or for my industry, for my home buyers? Or do you think that this will take some time for real estate to adopt such kind of methods?
See, it's just beginning today. For it's easier to get it done in office buildings and commercial complexes where there is a large awareness and also a large pool of capital available. For example, TPG has been a partner with us. So they give a lot of importance to ESG. In fact, they have been conducting training sessions for our team, all the investee companies, for the last about 6 years. Every year they have been conducting training sessions on ESG with our people. So there has been a lot of importance given by high quality private equity funds. That's on the office space and malls and all that. It is commercial, it's possible. Residential, it is yet to be appreciated. Customers also have to start appreciating, but it will happen soon. It's just the beginning, it will happen soon. But as an organization, as an industry, we should very well get prepared for this. Most of our projects now we design to suit these green building norms. Some of the projects we already got platinum and some of the projects got gold certification, including residential projects. Slowly we are moving towards it. That adds to the cost.
Yes.
Definitely adds to the cost. Customers are yet to appreciate. This carbon credit, whatever is available now, is yet to that. The financial product out of that is still evolving. I'm sure it's a question of time. Maybe in the next 2 years' time, it will have good shape. At that time, it will be very, very attractive. But as an organization, we should get ready for this now, because suddenly that can be a major game changer. For example, banks can come back with a lower rate of interest for the working capital wherever we made this, or some extra concession can be available, or even tax concession can be available. So these are all the advantages. So I'm sure Government of India also must be thinking about it, how to incentivize people to get into it. Otherwise, if there is no incentive, people will not do it. And for two people, this is definitely going to add cost for you to do this. There must be incentive. I'm sure it's evolving now. But as an industry and as an organization, we are getting ready for this. And this is going to be the order of the day. And India should take this lead. See, globally, when the growth has taken place, all the Western countries have screwed up completely all these ESG norms. They are talking about ESG norms today. But when they were growing, I don't think they were too much worried about it. In fact, whatever the black hole or our upper layer was created by all these Western countries, looked at, not looking at anything about it. Now they are talking about it, they are all grown. But India has always responded with a lot of responsibility. Now 2070 is a good amount of period for us to get there. I'm sure it's not only country, it's not only the government, all the industry leaders should take responsibility to make sure that India behaves very responsibly, industries behave very responsibly, and as an organization, we are getting completely prepared for this.
Yeah. How do we, anything that is new, how does it get adopted? One, through awareness. People are getting aware that there is an awareness about environmental requirements, and if you're going to continue to weigh the way we are living, then probably the whole world is going to be getting into trouble. So there is an awareness that starts. The second thing that happens is that the regulatory framework will come around that one to make sure that everybody complies to some regulatory norms. Third thing is people themselves will start to demand. When people demand, and they will have to pay. Right? These are the three things. This is the evolution that may happen. So if you look at the awareness is there, and particularly people are asking for certain things. Asking for certain things. Do you have the water saving equipments and treatment equipments and etc. Is this company cost responsible, etc. On the regulatory side, now the central government has come up with a regulation saying that around whatever the 10,000 crore rupee turnover or something like that, above that you have to come up with your ESG report every year. And now that is in place. And now for the last 2 years that we are coming up with our ESG report diligently. And probably it will come back and say that every listed company will have to have their ESG report. What is that in ESG report that we are really looking at? That is your environment and social and governance. Since we are listed, governance is going to be there. Social is about taking care of your people and your surrounding. And E is environment, which is the key thing that we were talking about in sustainability. E has energy, water, and your air, and anything surrounding these three elements is what we are talking about. So in energy, that there are two parts to it. One is during construction, that is which is embodied greenhouse gas emission. The other part is that during operations, that when people are living there, because we build, we sell, and we walk away. When people come in, have we built buildings which are sustainable? And that's the two parts to it. So there in luxury housing, particularly since you're talking about the luxury housing, there is an opportunity for all of us to look at how we can use the rooftops and other places to generate electricity. For example, if you're going to do 360 square feet of the solar panel, and you're going to generate around 6 kilowatts of power, that is which is a requirement, or maybe 8 kilowatts, 6 kilowatts is coming into the building. And if it is connected to the grid, you can have a net metering wherein difference only you are paying, which means that you have become now from a consumer to a supplier. Yes, there are some regulatory things that the governments have to look at and do it. There are other ways also in future that the government regulations may say. For example, that let us say that we are doing somewhere around 2000 units, and 2000 units will require around 10 megawatts of power. Why not that I go and build a 10 megawatts renewable energy plant through solar or wind, and I supply to my people, right? I mean, that's possible. But today, regulatory this thing will not allow you to sell power. You are not allowed to, unless that you are become one of the distributor license, which means that you become one of the BESCOMs or the GESCOMs or whatever the coms. So those are all the things that, so it is evolving, and it will take some more time to evolve. Are people looking for it? And people are looking for it. And in fact, we have taken it quite seriously to be there, that whenever that evolution happens, we are part of the evolution.
There are some of the private equity funds, venture capitalists, and foreign financial institutions as well, especially the foreign financial
I may add there that is, IFC, International Finance Corporation, is one of my funder, right? And they are very specific. There is a EDGE certification. EDGE certification. Without EDGE certification, we cannot go forward. So there are somewhere around 49 different points that we are going to be tracking, from designing to implementation to handing over. That thing is there. And so, as Murali said, whether it is TPG, IFC, whoever are there, and this is going to be the norm, because the world is looking at it and saying that if I'm going to invest in this fund, how much this fund is going to return back to me, and also how much of this environment it's going to save.
So this funding part, because he mentioned already, if the private equity funds or foreign financial institutions start talking about only green funds, and which is very much available to builders who would develop this kind of project, do you think this can be a motivator for builders, that they go for, if they are looking only for green funds, which means that green projects will be funded through these assets, and there are a lot of fundings now that is happening through this kind of funds. Do you think these builders will start developing these kind of projects more?
All the developers will get into it, because it's the organized players today. Or more than 80% of development comes from the organized developers like us. Everyone will get into it. But for this is to sustain, because there is an increase in cost, and home buyers are unlikely to pay immediately. It will take some more time. It will be at least next 5 years for them to realize, yes, they should be also playing a role in this, and they should be paying it. See, Indian consumer mindset is, can I get something cheaper? This is a mindset. Somebody will be buying Rolls Royce, but he'll be looking at, can I give more mileage? Somebody will be buying, S-Class, he'll be looking at what is the mileage it can get. And he'll be bargaining for his driver's salary for 10,000 rupees rather than engaging a... So, nothing wrong. This is a mindset.
Yes.
Hence, every consumer will have the mindset, can I get something less than this? But they should start appreciating, okay, this is the, need of the hour for the world. It's just not our city, just not our country. For need of the hour for the world, it is our duty to contribute. That thinking has to come in. It will come in soon. But until then, there needs to be lots of incentives, which is very important. either private equity institutions or even government also should give. Government should support whoever is complying with ESG conditions. We'll give 3% rate of interest lower, 300 basis points lower. There has to be a significant difference. Also, it is the responsibility of the government also to encourage good citizens, good corporates, and the support. I'm sure our government has done phenomenal steps in reducing or removing unwanted loss. Phenomenal progress we made. But we need to start building on trust basis. If I cannot trust our own fellow entrepreneur who creates the wealth for this country, and real estate is one subject. It is made by Indians, made for Indians. Everything is only Atmanirbhar. This is the only industry you can say Atmanirbhar. No other industry can be brought under Atmanirbhar. Now we should go all out and support. For example, you were saying, one project, we had done the smart metering. The electricity board is not equipped how to deal with the smart metering. This is a falling part of ESG requirement, but they are not still equipped. They have taken almost 3 years to understand. They started implementing. This is a brilliant project. We've been thinking about it. We have delivered more than about 25,000 homes. We can set up a power plant and start supplying to our own. See, again, we contribute quite a lot, but still there are not enough regulations to address that. So these are all the ones. I'm sure government is also working. It's it's not. It's a state government. In state government, there are a few. Divisions and all that. So I'm sure it'll all settle down soon, and we'll all create a better world for all of us.
While he already answered, the cost is what is one thing that all builders talk about when it comes to sustainable project. If they want to develop sustainable project, all the raw materials that are required are at a higher rate that from the normal construction that is happening. Do you think this is one thing that is what keeping builders from going full-fledged into this kind of projects? And the second part also he talked about is the home buyers capacity. Do you think that these buyers, the home buyers that are coming up, the new age home buyers from 30 or 40 years of age, they are the one who might look at this kind of projects, who might be interested in it because they have traveled around, they have seen a different kind of environment around them. So they might be the one who might be interested in this kind of projects. And does their pocket allows them to invest in this kind of properties to give them which gives them certain premium, but they have to also pay a certain premium for this?
Yeah, I think it and it's a yes and no kind of a question, right? So who are developers? Fundamentally, if you understand developers, we are not OEMs. We don't manufacture anything. We are just buying from the market and we are assembling everything. We don't manufacture the land, and somebody else gives us the approvals. Sorry, government gives us the approvals, and then customer comes and buys from us, and then we buy everything: cement, sand, aggregate, the tiles, or it is the electrical cables, conduits, or ceramic fittings, CP fittings, doors, windows. We don't manufacture anything. End of the day, sustainability, when we're talking about the environmental thing, that we are only putting together. The question why this ESG reporting is coming is that now we are tracking each and everything that goes into our building, how they are manufactured, and what kind of carbon emissions and carbon controls they have. And if we are going to use the ones which are carbon controlled, what is that we can save? End of the day, that is what is the role. The ball is set for rolling for that, right? So now what we are saying is that, boss, 50% of your, let us say that, let's take an example of a UPVC window. In your contract, if you say that 50% of the constituents which go into the UPVC window must be recycled material. Recycled material should go. So there will be at least some 5-6 people who qualify. Let us say we are buying from them, because of which when 2% cost is gone up or 3% cost, then the developer has the ability to look at and evaluate, can I take that 3% hit? Will my customers give it? End of the day, this entire revolution has to be based on sound economics. Just because we are all screaming that we want to be environmentally friendly, it's not going to be environmentally friendly, and it's an evolution. Just imagine that what we messed up with this world has taken 75 years, and we can't fix that in 3 years. Murali.
Absolutely.
So it will take 5 to 10 years to 15 years. We may not take
2047.
75 years, but we must be able to fix it in 15, 20 years. So that is the process that currently it is going. Yeah, consciously we all have the responsibility to make that effort. But having said that, as Murali said, that unless the customer is going to once it crosses the threshold of certain things, somebody may say that okay, you have to use a paint which is going to cost you 2,000 rupees per liter, and you want to sit and paint the roof of this thing because it's going to reflect the sun, and because of that the sound, the heat in the building is going to be less, because of which your air conditioning was, then we have to think whether the 2,000 rupee per liter, whatever I'm going to do, whether the customer is going to pay. And unless that we reach that level, we will not be able to use it. So these are some of the extreme examples I might have given, but end of the day, the sound economics will do this one. And coming back to this green fund and other things, right? Yeah. So there will not be green fund available because end of the day that money, whoever is investing is looking for returns. The money has to make money, and that's the business. And let's not be anything apologetic about it. The business has to make money. But having said that, all funds are going to be putting that one thing into their thing, saying that are you environmentally friendly, or is your product environmentally friendly? And to a certain extent, the measurement will start. And at some point of time, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, it's going to become stringent, where people are also paying, and we're all becoming environmentally responsible.
So one is capacity, other is willingness to pay. So what is lacking? The consumer's willingness to pay. Okay. So we have a mentality of not paying for the service. So we have the willingness to pay for the capital goods, but we don't have the willingness to pay for the service. This is a mentality. Yes. Nothing wrong in it. See, most of the people are lower middle class, became middle class now. See, this entrepreneurial mindset and all that is a recent addition. It will take time, but the willingness to pay is most important one. So what we want is one. Whether do we have the capacity is one. Third is, do we have the willingness to? That's the most critical one. If the answer is yes, they'll find capacity also.
But can you sell it as a USP? This project is sustainable. This has rainwater harvesting.
It's not going to have a separate value place. Customers, if a home buyer walks in today, you give a product 1 crore with ESG and all that, 1.1 crore. They'll say 1 crore. Or they will say that 1.1 crore product, give me at 1 crore. This is a mindset. They should say, yes, you are giving socially consciousness one. Okay, not 1.1. Can I pay 1.08? That mind is not there yet. It'll take some time. Yeah. So, but you have to travel a little longer.
So we have to be conscious as developers as to what is that we can afford to do things, right? So particularly one of the latest product that we have gone environmentally friendly. We called it with the name which is environmental, and we said every family will get a tree. One tree per year can suck up 20 kgs of carbon dioxide, right? We have said that now we have taken a call in Provident saying that we will not develop a project where one family will not get one tree, right? That means that while designing itself, that we are conscious that we cannot be digging everything and making a basement, that we need to have some virgin earth so that we can put some trees, right? And also what we have done in all our show apartments and also in our marketing offices, we've got something called a sustainability wall, where we go and actually publish that everything that we have done this, and so much of water is saved. We have done this one, so much of electricity is saved, and these are the materials we are using, so much of carbon is saved. Those kind of things we put that one. Whether people are paying for it or not, it's about time that people come to know that there is this element is also there, and they may not be paying the premium as Murali said, but I'm pretty sure that is getting registered in their mind that these people are doing some efforts towards that.
So, but how is the response? Because you mentioned of this
good
project.
Response.
So, would you, if there was these amenities were not available and you were selling it as a normal project, and these amenities that you have added, sustainable amenities, do you see that the kind of response would be same?
I think it should be different. I think it is different a little bit, but I think this question should be asked on the other side. You may want to ask the customers, saying that, hey, look, if one developer has done this, the other developer has not done that, would you be buying this one? I think the question is on the other side. But I could not actually put my finger and say we're selling because of our environmental initiatives, or it's generally the product is good, pricing is good, location is good, because Real estate has 10 different things, right? Husband, wife, children, everybody is ticking and saying, no, this amenity is not there, I don't want it to. There is environment is also one of the considerations.
That might be at the lower level.
Don't know that. Maybe generally it's an influencer. It's not be the decision making point.
Construction material waste. This is one of the things that always comes up when it comes to infrastructure development or whether it is a real estate project that is coming up. Government has asked and some of the states have made strict rules against it about it, that construction material should be reused within the projects, whatever, or if it is, whether it is infra, whether it is real estate, that should be reused. Do you think this is a possibility that builders, real estate developers, whatever construction waste is being generated can be consumed back in one project or the other, and do you think this can lead to a lower cost? Because if you're using the material that is already there, then the cost might be, there might be a slight difference in the cost, and do you think this can help in some way?
This industry has gone through a big change, complete mechanization today. The involvement of labor or these loose material have come down drastically. Today, I would say 98-99% of the wastage are getting reused. So that's we have moved long ago. And today, as you were saying, everything is factory made today, and you can make order to be very precise. I need, even the steel, it's all, cut steel comes to your site, so there is no wastage of steel. Likewise, concrete, RMC comes in, or you got a plant there, concrete plant. So from there it gets produced. So windows, doors, everything. So only the labor, there is a little bit of wastage, but that's getting reused. So today, I don't think there is any wastage material which is lying everywhere. I would say 98-99% of the material getting reused.
So within our own, the waste that is we are generating very less waste because we have become a little bit more or much more disciplined in the way the sites are managed. But as I said earlier, that who are we as developers? We are not OEMs, right? We don't manufacture anything. We don't do anything. See, for example, that there is a lot of concrete waste that actually gets generated across, right? The concrete is taken out. What does concrete consist of? Concrete consists of sand and cement and the aggregate. There are plants outside who have actually been put in together in such a way that they can extract the aggregate out of that. They powder it, they extract the aggregate. The aggregate comes back with us. We are very happy to use that. So there is another industry which is doing that. Similarly, we talked about UPVC window. If a UPVC window manufacturer is actually using a recycled plastic and still getting the quality what we wanted when we test, because all the testings are there, we are happy to use that. So there is another industry which is into it, and in fact that's going to grow even bigger and larger as and when the regulatory things starts to catch up. Now today it is disposed of into landfills, and if the government says no more landfills, it has to go for recycling, and definitely there will be a recycling industry, and we would be happy to use that because it's coming at a cheaper price. It's possible.
But so because few of the builders mentioned this, in Maharashtra and in NCR also, it has been made mandatory that you use either the recycled water or sewage treatment plant water for the buildings. But this means that whatever water is being used, they say that the quality is not good enough for them to develop this kind of projects. While the idea is good, but when it comes to implementation, that it may not be the same. What is your take on this? So because if you are using construction material, reusing construction waste, or using any kind of other products that are being that has already been used and then recycling it, the quality might not be the same that you might want to provide. So how do you deal with that?
Karnataka State Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Ecology, MOEF, has mandated that for construction you have to use the recycled water only, and that is something that is strictly it's being followed, and it is happening. So one of the challenges that we have is that where is this treated water coming from? The treated water is coming from public treatment plants where it is treated and it is coming in. If it is not treated well, there is a chance of that all your steel rods and things are getting corroded, and that's basically what they're talking about. We have not gone up to that level, and maybe up to the level of retreating that water and utilizing. And when the regulation gets catches up with all of us, then definitely it's going to happen. Right today, that I think we are testing the construction water, but we have to test it. They're all coming into certain level of the requirement, whatever this thing is. Tomorrow they may say that, even if it is not coming, then you need to have your own treatment plant before you put that into construction. That may even come up at some point of time.
Right. Okay. You talked about the incentives from the government side. GST on products that are sustainable, GST on products that are not sustainable. There is a difference. There are some government who are providing some kind of stamp duty relaxations. There are some kind of government who are providing. In Pune, I think they are providing, if there is a green building, they are providing some kind of property tax relaxations to the buyers. Do you think this kind of, what are the things that government can do to smoothen the deals? Because you mentioned that government should come up with some things, smoothen the deals for builders, any kind of incentive that are required, maybe GST, maybe taxation, that can help motivate the builders that they might go for these kind of projects, and home buyers also, that they might want to buy this kind of properties.
So for this ESG, the developer should be given a lot of concessions. Could be by way of GST, it could be by way of tax, it could be by way of a reduction in rate of interest, it could be by way of providing, capital at a cheaper rate. All this can be one, and home buyers should be given some advantage on property tax or regular. Lots of other concessions can be given on ESG. But most important one, you talked about initially about the affordable housing. See, one is luxury housing, other is affordable housing, in between mid-market and mid-premium. Affordable housing, the supply has come down, whereas demand keeps going up. We need to address why is it happening. And need of the hour is affordable housing. Yes, luxury, yes. For the, businessmen, need of the hour is focus on luxury, where margins are slightly better compared to this affordable housing. Whereas for the government, to make sure that everyone gets a home, everyone gets a roof above their head. In order to get there needs to be lots of incentives. So there they need to focus on for affordable housing projects. Whatever the bracket, whether it is a 45 lakhs ticket size or 60 lakhs ticket size or 80 lakhs, we can define what is affordable housing definition. That definition, if it is defined, and if we need to increase the number of supply, there needs to be lots of incentive with the current cost escalation which has taken place, and also the cost of doing business because of the time delay and various other aspects. So it becomes unaffordable, or people will move away from this. That will create a big challenge, which is not good. Hence, government should focus on giving, for example, if you take in Bangalore, you take a 6,000 rupees a square foot apartment. Somebody buys 1,000 square feet or 800 square feet, 2-bedroom apartment. 6,000 rupees a square foot, that comes to 48 lakhs. That, exactly falls into Government of India's definition of affordable housing, 45 lakhs. Let's say 800 square foot, 6,000 rupees a square foot plus minus 48 lakhs. You know how much the consumer pays? Out of these 48 lakhs on the 6,000 rupees a square foot, construction cost is 2,500 rupees a square feet. That's a cost. On that 18% is GST, which is about 500 rupees a square feet. Plus he pays 5% GST on 6,000 rupees. That's about another 300 rupees, 800 rupees. Plus stamp duty another about 8 to 10%. That's about another 600. 500 plus 300 plus 600. 1,400 rupees. Plus approvals. It's about another 150, 200 rupees, 1,600. Plus delay in the project, timelines on approvals and all that. Not because the developer delay. None of the developers have any intention of delaying the project, also not delaying the projects. But because of the approval process, every project takes 12 to 24 months time because of the cost increase. If you take, that's about another 200 rupees a square feet. I'm not talking about interest cost, I'm not talking about other costs. Close to about 1,700 to 2,000 rupees a square feet on a 6,000 rupees a square foot product just goes for GST. I'm not talking about the profit. I'm not talking about income tax on profit. I'm not talking about the land cost. Just on 6,000 rupees a product, close to about 1,700 to 2,000 rupees a square foot just goes on taxes. Now, somebody who buys a 45 lakhs or 48 lakhs home, almost about 32% of his cost goes towards this. There needs to be big discount. Otherwise, if you do not give incentivize, nobody will be there. So that's a bigger concern. They need to address that.
Maybe single window.
Murali took us through the pain of a real estate developer.
Point
by point.
Not real estate developer. It's not a pain for real estate developer. See, we are in business.
Yeah.
We'll keep moving ahead.
Yeah.
Where there is a margin, people will move on.
Correct.
the consumer will be the biggest loser.
Correct.
It's not the real estate developer.
Absolutely.
If this is not suiting you, you will move into other segment.
Correct.
If that is also not suiting, you will move to other segment.
Correct.
See, if you do not sustain profitability, you cannot be in the business.
Correct.
So if you need to survive in the business and if you need to do good, you need to make profits. See, making profits is not a sin. Making profits in a rightful way is right. You make more profits, you can do better service to the community. I mean, you cannot go and, I can ask you, donate some 1,000 rupees to somebody. I cannot go and ask somebody who's struggling to make 1,000 rupees for his livelihood. Pay 100 rupees to somebody, it's not possible, correct? So you can only do good when you are sustainable. For you to sustainable, you need to be profitable. Now, it's not a problem for developers. It's a problem for the consumer. So consumer should raise their voice. Why should I pay 1,700 rupees a square feet tax on a 6,000 rupees a square foot? Somebody who is struggling, lifetime saving to get 45 lakhs worth of apartment. It's a lifetime saving. Yes, my driver or my, any of our sub staff to buy a house of 45 lakhs, it's a lifetime saving. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of their saving. And they have to borrow money from their in-laws, they have to borrow money from their parents. It's a, tightrope walk. Why should they pay 30% of it on GST? What is the value they get? Developers will move out. So, but they will be the biggest losers. That's a bigger concern.
The concern, and also, but if the people cannot afford it, anyway you have built it, and so your margins are also going to shrink in some way that we're also going to get hurt. Of course, in a larger sense that when you realize that yes, you will move up and down, but when you're building what you've already committed, in that, for example, that the government came back and said that we used to have this 18%, which Murali mentioned about the GST on the input material. They just removed the input credit. They just said that no more. At 3,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees, somewhere around 500 to 540 rupees. 540 rupees, people never understood that why the prices are going up. Because if I'm getting the input credit for that whatever I spend, that 540 rupees is going to be passed on to the customer. Otherwise, the prices are going to go up. So if people are saying why affordable housing is not being done, 540 rupees if it goes up, when you add a cost of money to that, that itself is 700 rupees. Right, 700 rupees, which means that this is something that people have to realize. So I think you were asking a specific question in terms of what kind of incentives. Yes. First and foremost, it should be seen that the real estate industry is part of the nation building, right? Like if we have 28% GST on cement, yes, and now you can understand that what you can build with, right? So that's one. And then, of course, the government also has to function. Government is there. We cannot ignore. Government has its own, a lot of things that are pulling government here and there. And then everybody, they're a large nation with a diverse population, and governments have to do their thing. But specific to our industry, and it is seen as something that it can generate large amount of returns to the government. But at the same time, as who's going to be suffering is the customer, as Murali said, and that could be one of the things that if you want to spend more towards environment, sustainability, and other things, there must be some incentives coming in, which is well calculated and seen that in what it can be through bank interest rate, or through stamp duties, or it is through the funding when you're raising funding from from institutions saying that for you we are going to be looking at 0.5% or 1% or 2% less than what it is. So there must be some rating and other things for the developers will also come at some point of time.
Last three questions. First is about the age of a building, which is around 40 to 50 years in general. Now, in Mumbai or in Delhi or in other cities also, a lot of projects are now coming into redevelopment. Also, this means that this will be, so if also there are a lot of projects in NCR which are being, there was a structural audit and they found that they were not up to the mark and they are now being demolished and they have to again develop it. There are two parts of it. One is that this means that the cost that they used to develop this project, then they have to redevelop it, that there will be a certain cost to it. So overall, if you look at a project, if the age of building is increased using sustainable elements, that will mean that the cost would be lesser in a longer run. Second is environmental impact of developing project, demolishing it, and then redeveloping it. that is a high impact on the environment. If the age of if a building is increased from 40 to 50 years to 70, 80 years, this means the building will last longer. That means they will have less impact on the environment. Do you think this can be something that must be looked at, especially in India, where their projects are being developed uh, for a long time? The people are using it for end use, so they want to leave it for longer term. So they, if building lasts longer, they can, it gets
All the buildings are not designed for 40, 50 years. It's all designed for 70, 80 years. And our code, allows us to build for 100 years. The buildings are designed for 100 years. I can guarantee 70, 80 years, there won't be any issue. But why are they changing? Particularly Bombay, if you look at, why are they going for the redevelopment? Increase in FSI, one. Also, if you are living in a house for 30 years, 40 years, you have gone up in your career, you have got additional income and all that, your capability, then you move out. So, and that area becomes a little more city centric and all that, the value appreciation takes place. So hence they are trying to pull down or redevelopment. Otherwise, if you look at least from 2000 onwards, when the private sector gone into real estate in a big way, don't compare the housing board's development in 70s and 80s. All that, I think, living on extra age should have been pulled back long ago. And don't compare with the housing board which has developed in Koramangala or in Tamil Nadu, Annanagar. It's all not a good standards to compare. High quality development from private developers like us, at least from 2000 onwards. If you look at, it's all there for next 60, 70, 80 years to stay. Why are they doing redevelopment? It's a commercial. There are a lot of commercial implications associated with that. Not because buildings are not good. That's what my
but I want to add, because private projects that are developed in NCR, and there are private projects in Maharashtra, Mumbai especially, that are dilapidated, and the structural audit that has happened is also on the private project.
See, there are good and bad. There are always good in, I would say 90% plus good, 10% maybe bad. So we cannot make rule for only, this. You should also make a rule for how to incentivize good people.
Murali covered both the items, right? One is about the quality of construction. If you go back 50, 60 years, and if you forget about 50 years, when I passed my engineering some 25, 30 years back, we did a code for M20 concrete. Today, M20 concrete, we're not even laying it on the floor. Because M30 is the minimum concrete, and we have gone up to M50, M60, like that. So the construction technology is completely has gone over a lot of change. Whether it is private, housing board, whoever did 50 years, they did with what they had at that point. Today's shuttering material, if you look at it, and that shuttering material, the scaffolding with which they did at that point of time, the designs which they did at that point of time, quality of steel available at that point of time, quality of cement available at that point, all those things have gone through a significant change. 70, 80 years, 90 years, these buildings are going to be there as whatever that we are building, 100%, and your wish for longevity will be there. As Murali said, why that this still we may not even wait for 70, 80 years, we may even go and demolish the building in 25 years, is simply because of the economic value that it is producing these days. Let us say that in an area which is closer to the city, if it is giving you at 40 rupees rental on a commercial building, and that area is actually commanding 100 rupees, 120 rupees on Cunningham Road. So what if the building was actually done 25 years back? You will demolish it and you will build a nice swanky building and ask for 300 rupees rental or 250 rupees rental. You get my point. So mostly all demolitions and those things are going to happen on value basis rather than the quality of construction base, at least from 1990s, 2000 onwards, whatever the buildings are built, they will not be demolished on the quality basis.
Another most important one is upkeep. Again, it's a consumer mindset. We don't pay for the service. That's the most critical one. So if you need to do the painting of the building, see, you cannot do one paint and wait for 50 years. Maybe every 10 years or I don't know. Whatever the changes to be done, people should be willing to come and spend money. We've been talking to some of the projects we completed about 20 years ago. We've been going and telling them, please set aside, when they bought it at 2,000 rupees a square feet. Today it's going at 12,000 rupees a square feet. And the rental at the time it was about 1,000 rupees. Today it's about 40,000 rupees rental they're getting. We have been going and telling them, do the refurbishment. They are doing it. They are doing, let's say 1 crore this year, 50 lakhs next year, 50. These are tinkering work. It cannot work. We are telling them, collect 500 rupees a square feet today. When you bought, it was 2,000. Now it's 12,000 rupees a square feet. Collect 500 rupees a square foot from every customer and go for complete refurbishment. See, you need to do that. See, it's a typical mindset. You wear a jacket. What was gifted by your father-in-law 30 years ago. You keep wearing the jacket. Then you'll not be smart like him. So you need to be smart like him. You need to keep changing the jacket very regularly.
Likewise.
So that mentality has to come in. That's the most crucial one. People should be willing to look at what is that I can do. So at the end of the day, they are not going and building somebody else's campus, their own campus. That still, government also is looking at now 60%, 70%, all the consent. Earlier, 100% consent. One fellow can go to the court and get a stay. Even let's say society wants to do good, one fellow can go to the court and get a stay. Now, recently I understand some of the state governments have brought in this rule. If there is a 2/3 consent, then they can proceed with that. So those are all the norms, which is evolving. You need to do the constant upkeep, which is very important. If you do the constant upkeep, I will not say even 100 years, it could be 120 years also. Because structurally, it's all strong.
Yeah.
Structurally, but if you don't, even if you keep a house locked for 1 year, let's say you go to United States and come back 1 year later, when you open the house, you cannot go there. Because even without doing anything, it attracts, lots of other things. You will find cracks. It is not that, quality is bad, because you have not done the upkeep. So you need to keep on doing the upkeeping. That's very important. They need to set aside. Let's say my value of the apartment is 50 lakhs. I need to set aside maybe 5,000 rupees every year. It is not your housekeeping guy and housemaid servant. Beyond that, you need to look at how much I can set aside every year. That's the most crucial one.
You answered all my question already, but post-possession. So what has happened is builders are there for 5 years. Post-possession also, builders have to maintain the project for 5 years. They bring in IPCs, they bring in consultancies, and they tend to the projects and their maintenance completely. But once it goes to RWAs, that they have a different mindset, which Murali already touched upon. But if a project is being developed by a particular builder, but after 5 years it is not being maintained and it leads to some kind of things, it is not up to their RWs are not brought in under any kind of regulations. They don't have any kind of responsibility. They have to do it for their own, but this is not something that has been brought in under any kind of regulations. Do you think post-possession, how do you make sure, or how do you think that this can be brought in so that RWs also look after the maintenance of the projects, refurbishing others, and maintenance of this, so that the projects can last longer? So even if you build a green sustainable project, rainwater harvesting you build, but there is nothing to maintain it after 5 years, how do you solve that?
Murali was saying that we are not a great society where we want to pay for our services, right? Builder wants to maintain it for 5-10 years, and we've offered that, right? But RWA, once it gets formed and everybody gets into every single penny, and they think that they can do a better job than the developer, and somebody will prove that the developer is making a lot of money, but we have so many other things to do other than making money out of this maintenance. But they will somehow make sure that the developers are out and they manage it. There are two parts to it. One about the hygiene and other things, and how they're cleaning up the building, painting and polishing and things like that. Other things are now regulated. So for example, all RWAs, if they have this treatment plant, they have to go and put the pollution control board. They have to submit their papers, what they did. They're supposed to maintain the charts of how the water is clean. Similarly, drinking water, they need to look at it. And similarly, there is health inspectors who come and check whether the solid waste management is being done, whether it is wet waste and the dry waste that is segregated and things like that. So these things are now coming up. And there is nothing much a developer can do about it, because unless that the RWA decides that they want the highest quality of service that they want to get, and otherwise we will only do it ourselves. Fine, they can do it, but if the regulation becomes even more stronger, and probably they will have to look for some of the service providers and others.
One correction is not 5-year maintenance. Law says 5 years defect liability.
Correct.
So you make the structure, you give all the products. There is a 5 years defect liability. It doesn't talk about you need to maintain for 5 years. Maintenance as a buyer, it is their right. It is their responsibility and the right. They may choose to have a developer maintaining this for 5 years, 50 years, 500 years. It is their choice. But developer has no right. Once a sale deed is conveyed, it is the owner's responsibility to do it. But developer is responsible for the defects for the 5 years. But as a home owner, it is your call. Let's say you could have done when you went out during COVID, you could have put somebody for housekeeping regularly. When you come back home, somebody cleaned up very regularly. You couldn't, roll down. You could not roll down because you did not put somebody. It's your choice. As a developer, since because we have built and given, we cannot tell, boss, when you go home, put a housekeeping, we cannot do it. It's not our responsibility. So conveyance, with that our responsibility gets over. Thereafter, RWA. But again, there has been lots of awareness. Even, government also should play a role in creating the awareness, not regulatory. For example, some projects, let's say we do 2 years. Some people do not pay maintenance. And they just go to the court and say that, my services should not be disconnected. And courts also gives judgment. Then who will pay for water? Who will pay for electricity? Either, your neighbor has to pay.
Someone else.
Or someone else has to pay. But courts also giving in their favor. I must share with you one incident in Gujarat when our Prime Minister was the Chief Minister. There were lots of lifts. Gujarat produced more number of lifts compared to any other. There have been good manufacturing capacity. There were a lot of accidents. And the rule says every lift, every year you need to have the lift inspectorate certificate. They did some assessment. The number of certification they have vis-a-vis the accidents, they brought in a rule when he was the Chief Minister, I think 2008 or 9, I don't recall. No more lift inspectorate. They brought in one rule. It's a RWS will be responsible for any accidents which is happening in the society. Nobody else. They overnight removed the lift inspectorate. So until then, accidents, let us say 10 out of 100. Once this lift inspector was removed, accidents came down to 0.2 out of 10, 100. So the accidents came down. Two things is the learning. You trust your own fellow Indian and also make him responsible for where he is living. Then, comes down. But you had lift inspectorate, accidents were only increasing every year. So that is a shift we need to bring in. So it's a community, society have to take care. Yes, it's it's just not my apartment. It's my complex. And I should take care of that. I'm sure there will be some, eccentric people everywhere. You cannot get all the 100 people to behave the same way. I'm sure. But, if there is a law, okay, any issue in the RWS, 2/3 if there is a consent, everyone should abide by. Then things will get a better solution. Currently, it is not there. Currently, somebody who is not paying maintenance. It's becoming RWA also, because, from their point of view also. Somebody is a president, secretary, treasurer. They have a hell. They like, to be called president of someone's association and all that. We have one project called White House. The president behaves that he is president of White House only. So nothing wrong, see, at the end of the day, people post-retirement, they need some good occupation and all that. It's good. But look at the pain point they also have. Some customers do not pay. And if the customer goes to court, personally against him, and there has been a case filed against him personally. So these are all the ones. But, courts also should look at positively. Okay, it's RWA. They are asking not for themselves. They are asking for the betterment of the community. That should be supported.
Last question. This is about BRSR report. SEBI came about this regulation in FY23, I guess. Yes, so it was made mandatory for top 100 companies, then top 1000, and then followed by others, and it will be mandatory for all. Within this means that the whole value chain, not just the company itself, it is not about real estate, it is about in any company which is listed, whichever company is there, they have to look at the whole value chain should be carbon neutral. And they have, although they have given a very less time, both of your companies are listed. What do you think is the scope? How do you think this can bring in a change in the way that you work and you deal with other suppliers? So cement, paint, steel, all these players. How do you see a change happening? Do you think there is enough time for you to to follow these BRSR reports and the guidelines that are come under it? And how do you think this can impact the whole industry?
So that's what I talked about in the beginning itself, that the SEBI rules about this BRSR. So this is going to bring a lot of change, because now every year that you're supposed to give the report, and then there's a carbon calculation, what materials you've used. And as I said earlier, as developers, we are not OEMs, right? Our job is only to take the things and assemble that and give it to people, which means that the industry, that means the one which is adjacencies, the people who are supplying to us, is going to become, we're going to go through a sea change. For example, cement industry. Cement industry, there's going to be norm on the cement industry that how they have to be environmentally sustainable. They cannot leave out the dust. They cannot make noise. They cannot give out so much of carbon, methane, nitrous oxide, and other gases that actually come out of manufacturing cement. Similarly for the steel industries, right? So our job is to make sure that only get the material from
We source from those right people.
Right people. That's our job.
That's the big, it's the easier one. I don't think it's a very difficult one. Source from the right, people. That's the most important. Whoever have been following. It's all major materials: cement, concrete, doors, windows, tiles, lifts, generators. These are all the major ones. And today we have gone most of the project concrete walls. So all prefab or Maiwan. So that's where we have gone all over. So other than labor involvement, mostly mechanized, and lots of high quality producers. So only we need to source from the right people. I don't think it's difficult. We have been already practicing mostly now.
Yeah.
So only we need to file the report, which has not been done.
Is it an increased task for you to file this kind of report, to gather all this data? And also, do you think this might increase the prices?
No, it is not likely to increase the prices, because we have already been buying materials from high quality producers. It is not that we are changing the material supplier.
It depends on the impact of that on the suppliers. Like, let us say that in a cement, you cannot give out any smoke outside. You still have to manufacture something inside. And if they have to go through a large change, and definitely they're going to put it on the consumer, which is me. And I'm going to put it on my consumer, which is the customer that who buys the apartment. So it can have a little bit of a
cost increase will be there.
Cascading effect may be there, but it will all settle down.
It's not difficult. There will be some cost increase, but it's not difficult.
Yeah.
But complaints report, we've been used to. Real estate is the most over-regulated industry in the country. So I would say maybe if we can bring down 90% of the regulation, we'll do much more better way. Currently, it's over-regulated one. But since we've been used to this kind of over-regulatory one, complying this report, I don't see a major issue.
Great. Well, I must say it was a very insightful session. I would like to thank again Mr. Murali and Mr. Mallanna for joining us and sharing their views with us. Thank you, everyone.